Hi, it's Paul from Webinar Expert here. One question I get asked a lot is, how often should I run my webinars? Some people think that it's okay to just run a webinar once a month. Well, I disagree with that. Just think about it. The more often you run your webinar, the more polished you will become at delivering it. You'll get feedback from your audience so you can change the slides around, change the content. You should be looking to improve your webinar by incremental steps every time, maybe just a 1% improvement. And if you just deliver your webinar 12 times a year, as opposed to doing it every week, that's only going to get you less than one quarter of the amount of people. If you deliver your webinar every week for the year, 50 weeks, that's a lot more people that are going to attend your webinar, a lot more people that will join your email list, and a lot more people that can become your prospective clients. So I would recommend that you run your webinar once a week. Now we have to appreciate that there's quite a lot of work to set up a webinar. You have the webinar registration page, you have your slide content to create, you have your polls and surveys to build inside the webinar. Maybe you're going to have an email sequence, which I would definitely recommend, to remind people to come up to the webinar, and maybe a nurturing sequence to follow those people up and stay in touch with them. Maybe also you're going to have a workbook that you can give away to your audience in advance so that when they attend a webinar, they can work through it with you. If you're running that webinar every week, by the time you've done it 4 or 5 times, you're going to be getting quite good. You're going to be much more confident, much more relaxed. Do you remember when you learned to drive a car? Did you take a driving lesson every month? No, because by the time the month's gone by, you probably would have forgotten what you learned in the first month. Now, the reason I say that is that, like everything, when we do something new and we do it regularly, our muscle memory improves and we just get to know how to do things. And because there are a lot of steps to run a webinar, if you use it frequently, you're going to become very familiar, very comfortable, your delivery will get better and better, and you're going to be signing up more and more people every week. So initially the webinar is going to take quite a lot of time. You know, you have to do your preparation. It's going to maybe take you 2 or 3 hours to run a webinar. But after the 4th or 5th time, you could probably get that right down to about an hour, because you'll have less preparation. You'll be familiar with the controls. You know how it's going to go. You've done it before. It's like a theatre production. You're going to be on stage. You'll do your presentation. You'll feel confident. You'll know your script. You'll know your content. You're going to get better and better and better. When you start to get some business from your webinars, conversions, bookings and so forth, you can then look at automating your webinar, which means when you've got a webinar that went really well and you have conversions, bookings and sales, you can then use the recording to automate the webinar for you, which means you don't have to stand in the front of the camera live. The video recording will be the webinar for you. And that's a fantastic position to be in, because the webinar runs automatically, you don't have to be there. The good thing about it though is on some of the better platforms, although you don't have to stand in front of the camera, you can actually still be a moderator on the webinar, which means although you're not there on camera, you're live and you're interacting with the chat box where people are asking questions. And if you're not able to do that, some of the better platforms, when people ask a question on an automated webinar, you're not there at all, but the question gets turned into an email and sent to you, so that when you get home or any time that's convenient, you'll see that a user on the webinar has sent you a question and you can answer that question in your own time. Okay, it's not as good as answering it in real time as it would be if you were on the webinar, but at least you have the opportunity to get back to that user and form a contact with them. So as I say, a webinar is many more things than a lot of people think. I hope that's given you some ideas of what they can include. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks for your time watching. Bye for now.